There are many ways to play Fire Emblem. Iron Man it so all deaths are permanent, play it on the hardest difficulty, play it without healing, but have you ever considered playing it without males? That's crazy, right? Basically every protagonist is a dude, and most of the strongest characters in this series have an XY chromosome makeup. But doesn't that make the prospect of trying that much more interesting? Like, there is no way a game with 11 female characters out of 53 total characters could be possible, but that's what I attempted, seeing if I could beat, or in a worst case scenario, how far I could get into Shadow Dragon using only female units. Now what are the rules of the run? Simple, let no male into this screen, what will be known as the action zone. This is where characters engage in combat or use a staff to recover HP. Males can be moved, as if I leave them alone, there's a 100% chance that Marth, who is force deployed in every mission, would get jumped by ambush spawns. Additionally, thieves are allowed to open chests, and Marth is allowed to visit villages. This is because certain items that are necessary for the game, or certain characters, are only accessible if I use these males, but only in those very specific circumstances. Other than that, the males are entirely useless. Let's see if this challenge is even possible. Chapter 1. The Island of Dolhr. The first island shows me exactly what the rest of this run is going to be like. Our first usable unit is Seda. Seda is our main unit for the rest of the run, and while her instant access to 1 to 2 ranged javelins is nice, it can't be understated that her offensive is nowhere near as good as can be. With a base 4 strength and 20% growth, she's not likely to be hitting as strong as can be. Although that personal lance of hers, the Wing Spear, gives her Cavalier and armor effectiveness, as well as just being a strong weapon with a higher than average crit chance. For now though, she's all I've got. Marth gets the village's gold as I give Seda the 2 lances she can wield, that being Kane's Iron Lance and Abel's Javelin, so she can make use of them post-haste. Then I send her to take out the thief for 50 free XP, and thus the grind begins. By shoving every remaining player unit in the corner with sword units at the front, Seda can draw the attention of the axe units, and all I can do is hope for the best. She can't benefit from the evasive and defensive bonuses of the fort, but she can recover 3 or 4 HP at the start of her turn, so that's just more sustainability. Unfortunately, the first run turns red, as she's killed by barbs. Next run, she crits the first barbarian, followed by the third one, and gets an average level up of skill and speed. She finishes off the second one, and I just have to hope that's enough to survive. And he misses. That keeps her alive long enough for the next turn, and while the males are in range, putting powerful or fast sword units in the front, I'm hoping the AI chooses instead to attack the injured Seda instead of the full-strength Blade Boys. And the gambit pays off, and her dodging skills keep her alive to see another turn as she continues to spear more fools, even if she does get another disappointing level of speed and luck. She then has enough power to finish off the remaining pirates, finishing the first wave of enemies. Once she's healed up to full, it's time to move forward, luring enemies towards her to engage, then retreating to heal before finishing them off. To add to the miracles, she gets a great level up of HP, speed, luck, and strength. Riding this wave of excitement, I keep inching forward, careful to not incur the wrath of the hunter, since his bow will kill Seda, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. By stepping onto the mountains, she can lure the hunter away from the rest of the pirates, and once he's by himself, she can kill him before he has the chance to one-shot her. She then leads on more men to their death as she gets another level of HP, skill, and luck. Once everyone is cleared out except the boss, I grab Wrist for the free heal staff, and then I do an oopsie. See, at first I was going into this run with the idea that I could sacrifice units on bosses since that's no body blocking, but then I realized that's not in the spirit of the challenge, so I could never get access to Athena, which sucks, but whatever. So if you want to count the run dead because I threw Riss, Jaken, and Gordon on the meat pile, I understand. However, I'm using the excuse of, thanks to the existence of javelins and the store selling them, the chance of me needing to engage in one range combat would be extremely low, and even assuming she needs to, He can't one-shot her, and he has no crit chance against her, so it'd just be a matter of time until his axe breaks, and Rissa and Gordon taking 2 uses isn't that bad. But the biggest one... I got a plus strength Sita already, please give this to me. I've tried this chapter so many times, you haven't even seen it yet. Time to start chucking a javelin, where she can deal 4 damage twice for free, and it's just grinding until she lines up enough crits to kill the boss. She levels up speed and luck, and her lance rank hits C as the chucking continues. She does land a crit, but my fear of her missing prevents me from moving in to waste him, so he recovers his HP. At the very least, I can get more lance rank, which is very important. Not only can she wield more advanced weapons as she ranks up, but once she hits rank C, B, and A, she'll gain minor bonuses as long as she isn't at triangle disadvantage, those being +1 attack, +1 attack and +5 hit, and +2 attack and +5 hit. The hit is negligible, but 2 free points of attack on a girl who is very bad at leveling strength is a godsend. She levels again, getting HP, skill, and speed as the throwing continues. If she can land both throws, she can cancel out his healing, which is nice, made nicer when she ups her weapon rank, crits, and levels. But it's just skill, luck, and speed, so whatever. More throwing, but eventually he's dead from enough crits that it lined up, so Sita levels again, gaining HP, skill, speed, and luck, and a vulnerary to recover 10 HP. But we're not out of the frying pan yet. Chapter 2. Harboring Stress. Chapter 2 gives me a bunch more men and not a lot else, so Sita is still my only unit. She's got to deal with guys up top and a few cavaliers rushing her down from the west, while the men head south for the most part to evade attacks. Mostly. This guy here is Dolhr, who's recruitable, so I need to save him, but he's got one objective: head down and talk to Marth. He won't even attack, so if we use Cain and Abel to block his path, he'll prevent the other pirates from attacking the rest of the army and failing the run. Sita is then able to move in and attack the scary hunter, meaning now she just needs to finish off the pirates. But a misplacement meant one of the men was attacked, and I was forced to reset. On the 3rd try of the run, I decided to adjust my strategy, being a bit more aggressive, with Marth nearby to give Sita a bonus to her hit and avoid. But he has to retreat as she opens the way to sit on the fort and heal. But the hunter takes her out, so that's another reset. Next try is a bit more useful, as a crit takes out the west pirate, so she can move to block the path of the dangerous one, while Dolhr heads south to get recruited. Thankfully, the pirate doesn't move, so the hunter couldn't reach Sita, and she's able to finish him off and level, getting HP, speed, skill, and luck. This actually maxes out her speed, making it almost guaranteed she'll double whoever comes her way. Now I just have to hope she can survive the incoming threats. I was worried at first that they could reach and thus would attack Board, but by positioning Drog in the way, they would instead attack Sita, because while she can counterattack, she has much less defense. The first cav goes down, followed by the second, and she even survives the thief and the hunter, which she eliminates to get A rank in lances, allowing her access to every lance in the game, and a massive buff to her stats when not fighting axe units. Once she's healed up at the fort, I continue her forward to deal with the pirates with Marth close behind. Another level gives her HP, skill, luck, and surprisingly defense, giving her 2 more points of bulk in 1 level. I play it slow and have her heal after each encounter, wanting to preserve her chances of survival as well as the uses of the vulnerary. Marth continues to back her up as she continues to slaughter, soon leaving nothing but the last wave, but this is the most dangerous wave yet. 3 pirates is already bad, but add on 2 hunters and it's even worse. There's a double-edged sword in that one of the hunters is recruitable, but while that means 1 less attacker, that also means I need to get him to safety, otherwise him being attacked will fail the run. Thankfully, by stepping near the danger zone, but not being in it, it will trigger the enemies to charge Sita in order to punch her in the face, which she can survive. Before I can bring the hunters over, I have Sita trigger the pirates in order to lower the amount of people she and Castor, the recruitable hunter, have to avoid. Another trip to the healing fort patches her up, but that also triggers the hunters. She recruits Castor and does hurt a bit from the other one, but she at least takes him out. She even survived the second wave of pirates, and lets her retreat to heal in order to finish them off. I do have to use a use of the vulnerary, but at least it's just 1 use. Then I can go back to the fort and heal up. Now it's time to deal with the last 2 guys. I plant her on the fort to heal any damage he causes her, and she even levels up, though it's just +1 HP and skill. This boss is actually a threat, since he can counterattack Sita if she uses a javelin, which is really scary. Marth visits the village before getting into position to support Sita in order for the battle to begin. She lands a crit on her first attack, and while she can survive one more round of combat, she can't survive a third. So I have her wait, and unfortunately, she misses, which means she can't finish him off. Then she lands another crit, leaving him at 1 HP. I equip the Wing Spear to get as much hit as possible before Sita finishes him off. That's another chapter down, and the next chapter is going to be absolutely massive for the run. Chapter 3. A Brush in the Teeth. A brush in the teeth, or the ghoul's teeth if you hate fun like the most recent translation, is massive, because it gives me my second female unit. Lena is our second unit, and from the jump, she won't be great. Her pathetic magic means that she won't be healing as much as I'd like without some serious luck, or investing some cocaine into her. Her defenses aren't great either. A 3 base with a 0% growth means that any attack will likely kill her. And even if it doesn't, her 8 base speed and 20% growth will most likely mean she's getting doubled, especially if I promote her and give her a weapon, as her 0 strength and 0% growth means she's going to be weighed down by literally anything. But what she brings to the table is the Warp Staff. This 7-use staff lets her send Sita, or any unit, to any space for whatever reason. This is going to be huge. But before we can use her, we gotta rescue her. Her and some random dude following her are being chased by a group of fighters, and worse, Navarre, whose killing edge and speed will surely result in her death. Sita flew north to try and rescue her, but we have another issue. Some fighters are coming in from the west to kick our butts, and Sita can't be in 2 places at once. For now, I just give Lena a staff so she can heal Sita if she needs it, and have her take out the first thief with a javelin. She levels up, but just 1 point of luck, so it doesn't matter much. I wanted to try recruiting every unit, but I didn't see a universe where I get out of this safely with Navarre alive, especially since while he missed, he could have killed Sita easily with a single crit, so I have to kill him. The fighters arrive, and now it's time to plan. Since they use axes, I have tanky sword units to protect the rest of the men, but Lena's weakness makes her a target for the fighters, and she doesn't dodge once. So she dies, and I have to reset because I am not playing this stupid run without her. Next try, I set up right in the canyon's chokehold, and Sita's level is far better, rewarding her with +1 skill, +1 luck, and more importantly, +1 strength, and that's massive. I have to keep this run alive. That strength is too important. Navarre dies again, and the men retreat in order to stay safe from the west fighters. Lena does get punched in the face, but she survives, letting Sita offer her a place to stand where she can't get attacked, and heal Sita up. She continues to clear out the thieves, to the point where she levels again, getting skill and luck once again. With the north cleared, she can move south to stop the fighters and fight the fighters. But there is an issue, because they don't die like jerks. I do an insane gamer move of giving Lena the Vulnerary to protect the men, and it works, allowing us to further retreat north. Unfortunately, a misplaced Ogma gets attacked, so I have to do this run again. Attempt 3 starts with me moving Sita left first in order to stop the fighters, but because Navarre is a lying piece of crap, he attacks Lena, and worse, Sita only gains luck upon leveling. Another blatant failure leads to another reset, since the gang is stuck between a rock and a hard place. Attempt 4, I send Sita up to take out the hunter and lure the enemies into this canyon. Hopefully. Plus, she gains luck and strength from her level up. That's pretty good. The fighters retreat to chase the pretty lady, but Navarre and the thieves continue heading south. But I can work with this. I recruit Navarre instead of killing him because it makes him lose his ability to be a threat, and he can escape the Uh-oh. Thankfully, this thief is set to destroy, so outside of this village right here, he doesn't care about anything else. Sita wipes him out, and now he can deal with the fighters and junk. I use the Wing Spear and hope for crits, and thankfully, get one to wipe out the idiots. Sita and Lena stand together in order to tank hits and body block at the same time, and Sita gets another level up, getting HP, luck, and more strength. This is a 7th strength Sita. That's fantastic! Lena survives the fighters, and now with so much more strength, Sita is able to take them out, but misses the most important attack of her life. And now I'm at risk of losing the 2-point Sita. I use the swordmen to hope that they prioritize attacking Sita due to the triangle, and thankfully, no men are harmed during the course of this turn, at least on my side, so Sita can finish cleaning up, but one last fighter survives, so I need to come up with a way to keep Lena alive and the run going. I decide to trade Lena the last vulnerary use, and have strong sword units stand to protect the other units, and sure enough, he takes the bait, and Sita can finish him off. Now the last area is all that's left, and we also have Marth get the Devil Axe. Not that I really need it, but I like things. Now we have 2 hunters, but by this point, Sita is strong enough to take a hunter shot without dying, and Lena can heal her in order to ensure her survival. The fort and Lena help her survive the enemy's assault, and she gains another point of strength! 3 points in a single chapter! That's insane! Sita and the boss with parents who hate him, Hyman, takes turns chucking projectiles at each other, and thanks to Lena, she heals more than he hurts, and she gets her first level up, of luck and resistance. With Hyman dead, we get a mend to heal more HP, and Marth can cap the fort to end this chapter, but not before Sita checks the shop. Yeah, it's garbage. Give me the gold in this castle, I'm out of here. Chapter 4. Crystal Lake. Prep screen! So now, not only can I undeploy the men, but I can mess around with items before the chapter begins. I store all their items in order to be used or sold later, and I buy a bunch of heals for Lena to use and level with. But then I get an idea. Lena's magic growth is objectively bad, but it can be less bad if I put her in mage. This means I can't heal, but it might be worth it in the long run to have a terrible time now, but a better time later, assuming that my luck wins out and she gets points of magic. I'll buy her some tomes to wield before forging one of them to be super strong and have lots of crit, and I name it after Lena's favorite substance to abuse. Lena's new tome allow her to one-shot the thief, and she gains skill and resistance for fighting him, while Sita heads off to fight the fighters. Sita levels again, getting HP, luck, and more strength! She's so good! She solos the fighter squad while I send Lena north to fight some dudes and avoid the incoming cavaliers, while Sita heals and starts heading to assist her. Martha's kinda just chilling down here. If the wing spear was still in a usable condition, I could use it to one-shot the enemies, but for now, that's not an option because it's too broken. Lena retreats once again, but not far enough, and dies. Attempt 2. Once again, Lena kills the thief for luck and resistance, while Sita, once again, fights the fighters. She gets HP and luck out of it, and while I would have preferred strength, some more survivability isn't bad. We retreat north, and Lena gets another kill, and Sita tanks the incoming cavaliers. But now we've got a problem, since there's no way Lena can survive these incoming opponents, so we have to keep retreating. Lena recruits Mathis, and crit kills a cavalier to rid us of the first wave of enemies, entirely safely. Sita heals on the fort, and Lena starts moving forward, since she's a bit slower than the Pegasus Knight. Unfortunately, Lena crits when I didn't want her to, and she dies once again, so that's another reset. Lena kills and gets magic and luck, increasing her damage, which is so nice. Sita gets skill and luck, and we repeat the strategy from last time since it worked. Lena and Sita killing enemies as they continue retreating. I decide to leave Mathis alive since he's less threatening, and I park Lena on a forest, but it doesn't help, and she dies. Again. Attempt 4 gets Lena magic and res, and Sita luck. The archers kinda go weirdly, but that could give me a path to victory. Sita sits on the fort to get some HP before she slaughters the first couple cavaliers. Lena obliterates one of the guys and Sita the other before Mathis suicides onto Lena. Kinda funny, but I'm not resetting for this literal vulture. Plus, 27 XP is 27 XP, and that lets her level and get skill, luck, and resistance. The girlies heal up at the fort before engaging with the next wave of enemies. The archers get baited, and thanks to Lena's dodge, her crit doesn't get her killed, before she goes and heals up again. I then engaging in getting Lena killed. Whee! Attempt 5! No stat-ups for Lena, HP and skill for Sita. The enemies keep charging towards us, and Lena continues north as Sita deals with the hunters, taking a ton of damage but still surviving as the mounted foes keep getting closer. I keep the girls together and just kind of hope they survive, and thankfully it works. But now they've got a ton of units on them, so I throw Marth on the throne and pray. Doesn't work. Reset. Attempt 6. I've spent 30 minutes on this chapter alone. By the way, magic skill luck and HP skill luck. I've done this chapter enough that I know that this hunter will run this way if Sita stops along this line, since he will eventually be able to hit her as my units continue running north like cowards. But we're cowards who are alive, at least for one more turn. The abuse continues, but we're alive so far, but Mathis isn't, so who cares? We clear the Cavaliers for a third try, and Lena gets magic, skill, and luck again. They heal before heading towards the fort and the second wave of enemies. Sita lures them in before a whole bunch of murder happens, and she becomes the more skilled person because of it. I then engage in some shenanigans, forcing this horseman to be trapped between a knight that won't move and his inability to not move unless he can attack someone. So Lena can just chip away at him for weapon XP and normal XP. The cleric runs in to help, but he's dead, and Lena gains magic, skill, and luck out of it. I repeat the technique to get another kill and HP and magic out of her level. She even hits D-rank tomes for later. More murder later, and the recruitment of a dude who doesn't matter because unlike Mystery of the Emblem or even Blade of Light, he doesn't have a Blizzard tome for Lena to use, and Excalibur is male exclusive. Lena finishes off the boss, who was stupid enough to not have 1-2 range, and now I get a Rider's Bane. And Lena gets speed and res. That's another chapter down, and the cool sword that no one can use yet. Ah well, looks cool on my wall, I guess. Chapter 5. Castle Crashing. Another chapter and another round of pain for the crew. A whole bunch of dudes are trapped over here and are going to be hunted down by the enemy forces, and we've got a bunch of archers coming our way, and since now they're rocking steel bows, they can once again one-shot Sita, so that's going to be an issue. I wondered if I should make her a Myrmidon, which would keep her insane speed but force her to wield swords, but I decide against it for now and just try it in Pegasus Knight for the first attempt. The Cavs come marching and Sita is strong enough to take out the first wave. The northern village contains a fire breath stone, but since that's mostly worthless, I'm okay losing it. I hoped Lena was evasive enough to survive the wave of enemies by sitting in a tree, but lo and behold, she cannot. This is going to be a pattern, isn't it? Attempt 2. I bring Julian into the mix in order to grow his and Lena's support, so that way I may be able to make it so he can boost Lena's stats in the same way Marth does Sita. The Wolf Guard is moved left and right in order to manipulate the movement of the archers and calves that are trying to kill them, while Sita and Lena continue protecting the men. I do my best to keep the Wolf Guard safe, but unfortunately the enemy Javelin Cavalier, for some reason, attacks the dude with the bow instead of the weak flying unit, so I have to reset again. Attempt 3. Sita heads across the river while Lena stays back to fight the Cavaliers. In order to give her the greatest chance of survival, I have her equipped with her personal tome and stand in the forest for the boost to evasion, while Sita deals with the Cavaliers harassing the Wolf Guard. Lena didn't dodge, so she died, and I have to reset again. Attempt 4. Sita and her Rider's Bane that she got last chapter deal with the Eastern Cavs. Then they make a choke point here on the bridge with a genius tactic. This thief here is designed to run across the bridge on his way towards the village, but if he can't, he won't move. But since he's there, he takes up the 2 space away tile, meaning this archer can't one-shot Sita, keeping her safe for another turn at the very least. I steal Lena's tomes off of her because there's a Javelin Calf, and if she somehow kills the archer, she's going to die to him. The plan works, but not as I could have expected because the stupid thief retreats, meaning the archer could have killed Sita, but since Lena didn't have any weapons and Sita had a javelin equipped, he preferred to attack her and let the Cavalier take on Sita. This proves to be a fantastic idea, because now I can get to work. Lena takes out the archer and Sita the Jav Calf, while Marth and Julian retreat. Now that the thieves are aggro, they're dealt with as well. With a +1 skill level up from Lena, the east half of the map is safe, sans these 3 units, a Pegasus Knight, an Archer, and a Wendell. Now that the Wolf Guard is safe, I need to decide what to do, and fast. These 2 forts will, once it hits turn 10 or 12, spawn a Pegasus Knight or a Cavalier for 5 turns, and I don't really want to deal with them. Lena and Sita head back out right as the Cavalier starts spawning, but at least there's an easy choke point with the bridge, which I don't use because I value Marth's support bonus more. The pegs begin spawning and flying over as I continue clearing them out. Lena putting in some work. As with Cocaine, she can one-shot the Cavaliers with 100% accuracy, allowing Sita to move into position to deal with the Pegasus Knights after Julian gifts her Lena's Vulnerary, since she won't need it. Sita levels once again, dealing with the Peg Knights, and getting an insane level up of strength, skill, and defense, which she only has a 10% chance to increase in case you forgot. This has been my luckiest Sita ever. The rest of the enemies start moving in as Lena levels up again, getting speed, luck, and resistance. I park Sita in the farthest fort so she can heal up while fighting the Peg Knights, and thankfully, she can heal up before the knight arrives. Lena clears them easily as the waves stop coming in, so now there's just the static enemies left. Lena kills the boss for the XP, as I decide that I do, in fact, want to kill the 3 enemies over here. XP is XP, even if the XP comes from a recruitable character, while Lena punches a cleric for XP. Sita gets skill for her second to last level up, as Marth checks the shop for any good items. I also sold any and all bows, since no female unit manually spawns in the archer class, and archer/sniper isn't really a great class, so any archers I make will have to buy a new bow later. I need gold for an upcoming chapter, or for forges. The reason I didn't sell the rapier is because it can be useful for AI manipulation to prevent enemies from attacking Marth. Maybe. With that, Marth heads towards the castle, Sita sells some iron swords since we have a lot of those, and we capture the castle and move on to Chapter 6. Chapter 6. Alere. This chapter is going to be Reset City, because it is an absolute nightmare. Unlike the previous maps, a large chunk of enemies charge at us all at once, but there's not a whole lot of space to manipulate enemies, and they're usually in groups, so I can't single them out easily. And we're on a soft time limit. There's a handful of thieves on the map with items that would be really useful, like a Killing Edge, Physic, Bullion, Armor Slayer, and a Seraph Robe to buff HP, something that would be very appreciated. But this chapter is going to be absolute hell, and this is going to result in a total shift of my playstyle. If this was a normal playthrough for me, I'd warp a strong unit up to this spot here to block the thieves' escape route and fight some dangerous enemies. I don't think that'd work here due to Sita and especially Lena's inability to tank too many hits. So for starters, I'm going in with 2 combat units and seeing if they can clear things out by themselves. Attempt 1, and we're immediately thrown into the pot. There's 2 archers nearby that can obliterate Sita, but Lena with Cocaine can one-shot them, and she gets magic, skill, speed, and luck out of it. Sita clears an archer, and then I pray to Naga that my units can dodge. Sita evades the first archer, but entirely unpredictably, Cocaine causes Lena to kill an enemy that allows another dude to run up and murder her, forcing me to try again. Attempt 2, and I realize that now it's time for Lena to take up the cloth once again in order to keep Sita healed up. I warp her up towards the top of the map, where I know the thieves are running towards, and Lena gets HP, magic, and speed out of it. Probably one of her best level ups. I sent Sita up here in hopes that it would cause the enemies to all run towards her, where she could attack them and deal with them, while leaving the others safe. She clears out the area, but then the danger I told you about earlier comes true. The knight starts marching towards Lena and the men, while many others begin moving in on Sita. I warp Marth up near Sita in order to give her a support bonus, but that's not enough, and Sita dies. Reset. Attempt 3, I return to what I did on attempt 1, except being way less aggressive. Lena gets skill out of a kill, and the 2 women stand together, but the phalanx doesn't work when it's just 2 people, so Sita dies again. Attempt 4 is when I decide to forge a high might, high crit steel lance for some reason. First I steal all the items from the men and sell a good chunk of it, stuff I don't think I'll need later or items that are worth quite a bit. And then, with the luck spear in my hand, my units move in together. Lena gets luck and resistance, and then the luck spear fails its name by failing to crit, and then failing to protect Sita. Dang it. Attempt 5 is when I get a bit quirky, because I made Sita an archer. It increases her strength and defense, keeps her speed near where it was as a Pegasus Knight, and more importantly, makes her not weak to archers. I make a really cool iron bow for Archer Sita with lots of might and crit, and I name it the Lady Bow Plus, since it's inheritable. Now it's time for the girls to play. Lena getting skill and luck out of her level up, and Sita obliterates an archer with Marth's support. Sita's new outfit works for quite a bit, but it does mean she gets taken out by the mage, and that's unfortunately curtains for attempt 5, since as an archer, her resistance is much lower than it was as a Pegasus Knight. Now at this point, I was stumped. I had no idea what to do, and couldn't quite put my finger on what to even try for attempt 6. Should I just keep throwing Archer Sita at the enemies and hope for the best? I didn't really know. I just kinda sold a bunch of crap, even the rare barrier staff, because I needed to make the Uber Spear. After deciding on its stats, I go with the simple name, Kill. Because I have a new strategy. Warping Sita into the throne room and just assassinating the boss. This means that I don't get any of the very useful items from this map, but it does mean I can complete the map, and I would like to get further rather than getting cool stuff. Lina gets luck as Sita prepares to pull a booth, but with no such luck, Sita dies instead. Attempt 7, plus res, and this time, Sita lucks out and crit kills the boss. But now comes the actual hard part, surviving afterwards. There's 2 archers nearby, and some strong dudes, so I kind of just have to hope Sita either dodges or tanks the incoming hits. She doesn't. Now look, this is just my strategy from now on, and I'll just update you on attempt numbers and what Lina gets. 8 res, nope. 9 skill res, nope. On attempt 10, I realize that I'm stupid and that I've been handicapping Sita. After warping her in, I can have Marth move within 3 spaces of Sita, and thus boost her hit, avoid, and crit. Skill luck res, dead. 11. Skill speed luck res, Sita didn't even kill the guy, reset. 12. Skill res, dead. 13. Magic res, reset. 13. Skill, Sita level skill and defense as well, and then dies. 13. Skill res. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. 13. But then, attempt 21 comes with a brand new idea. I sell just about everything I can in order to get as much money as possible, because I have a brand new idea that will potentially give me the success I search for. I forge a javelin instead of a silver lance, because while I need to put in more might in order to get the kill on the boss, attacking from range will prevent her from getting hit at all by the boss's silver lance. Simply named lowercase please, Sita and Marth get into position, and Lina gets luck, and Sita clears out most of the guys from the throne room, dodging the archers no issue, and hitting max level with 1 less point of HP. Julian gets the only treasure I get this chapter, being a single bullion to make up the loss from please, and then I can warp Marth onto the throne and end the chapter. With Alir in hand, it's time to move along to the next chapter, and I'm so glad to be out of Aurelis. Chapter 7. Death Mountain. After the nightmare that was the last chapter, Chapter 7 doesn't really let up, at least in the long run. There's some enemies I need to deal with at first, but worse than that, there's a line of danger that once I cross it, a total of 12 enemy cavaliers spawn in. And they are dangerous. They can easily overwhelm the 2 units I have, and I do not want to put up with a large amount of that. Lina shifts back into a mage, and though I considered making Sita an archer to deal with the incoming flying units, I decided against that. I stay patient and wait for the flyers to come to me, only sticking my neck out enough to draw them in, and while most of the XP is wasted on Sita, Lina does still get some killing in, leveling up and gaining magic, speed, and skill. Thankfully, this wave is now harmless, as Minerva and the White Wings aren't hostile to us. They will counterattack, but they won't initiate, meaning this could be a good chance to get some XP for Lina. Lina takes out Minerva, causing her and the White Wings to fall back, and ranking Lina's C-tomes to C rank. The 2 team up to clear out this area, because this spot is super important. This fort right here contains Bantu, who, while male, will be relevant in 12 chapters. For the first run of this map, I decided to try turtling, my units sitting in a box, and kind of just hoping that this works out. Lina levels magic, which, while it's just 1 stat, it's probably the best stat she can get. Once this wave is defeated, I send the girlies to heal up for free, and then I summon the next wave. The Rider's Bane puts in the work, clearing out most of the enemies as Sita retreats to heal. Another wave, another batch of XP for my units, made easier thanks to a crit from Sita. Her bulk is at least good enough to help her survive while she can retreat and regroup with Lina to clear the final wave. With no more reinforcements, Sita can swoop in and clear out a few extra targets, and since the boss doesn't have 2 range, Lina can poke him for free XP. Harmine goes down, Lina gets luck, and with that, I can move on to the next chapter. Chapter 8. Port Town Arrow Dive. This town is a place where I needed that money, and turns out I'm broke as heck. Caesar and Rad show up to give me their weapons to sell, and Sita prepares to fly over the ocean to take out the boss. I waited a turn instead of immediately sending her, so that she has some extra time in order to kill the boss before the archers and horsemen shoot her out of the air. And also because once any unit crosses this line, 2 cavaliers, 2 knights, and 1 horseman spawn from the forts until at least 3 waves of them come forth, and that sounds like an abysmal time working with the units I have. Warping her gives Lina a level up and 1 point of speed, luck, and res. Please gets more use as I try and use it against Nibel, all the while plenty of calves come to kill us. Caesar grabs the wing spear for Sita, and plenty of ice tomes for Lena, so she's not restricted to fire tomes. I'll buy a few more Vulinaries before a warped Marth ends the chapter in record time. Chapter 9. I wanted to make a reference to a dragon-themed place, but all the media I can think of just calls the place dragons live Dragonland, and that's lame. Yet another map that's going to suck so much. The Pyrathi Islands has lots of archers, lots of pirates, and lots of pain. Ironically, the namesake dragon isn't that dangerous, since he stays on his throne and doesn't have range, so Lina or Javelin Sita can kill him entirely safely. However, I decided to do something a little kooky, and make Sita a Myrmidon. Most of the enemies on this map are either archers, who are effective against Pegasus Knights, or fighters, who have triangle advantage on lances. And while most for stats take a bit of a hit, it's not enough to make me not want to try it out. Marth heads east to save this village, since it has a dude inside who's not super important, but he is holding a bow that's worth a lot of monies. And I am greedy. Sita is evasive enough that the fighters only have a 25% chance to hit her, so she can be a pretty big dodge tank. She does take a hit, however, but that's not the biggest deal, since she can continue dodging dangerous attacks. I'd like the chest in the bottom right, but it's just a sword that's effective against dragons, so it's not the biggest need. More important is that in the center, there's 2 easily obtained items, bullion that can sell for 15k gold, and a goddess icon that can be sold for 2k gold. I continue clearing out the enemies, Sita retreating a bit to heal up, as she continues to be a fantastic dodge tank. The 2 ladies are an absolute perfect duo, Lina getting magic and speed from another level up as Sita continues training her sword hand. But now we've got a bit of an issue. Reinforcements. If it's not apparent enough, reinforcements are basically the biggest problem for this run. When your unit count doesn't even reach in the double digits, large amounts of enemies easily become incredibly tedious to deal with, especially if they come fast enough that my units can't take breaks to heal or regroup in order to protect the men. I decide to head over to the fort where Sita can heal, and now that she's not mounted, she can even gain a bit of extra defense. I continue clearing out the near endless amounts of pirates, but there's just so many, it's absolutely insane. The men having to hug the edge of the island just to stay out of range of the pirates. And once again, I have to pray that Lina's ability to dodge will work for once. But just in case, I have her use a Vulnerary to heal up 7 HP. But while she can dodge for a while, eventually her luck fails, and it's back to the start of the chapter for me. But at least I learned something useful from this attempt. That being, don't have bad luck. Attempt 2 sees a few things change, such as not unlocking this door so they have to go around for a bit, but I left Julian in range of an enemy, so attempt washed. Attempt 3 is more of the same, except this time, I promise I won't suck. Sita takes an absolute beating from the pirates this time around, but she's still doing her job well enough. I get sandwiched between 2 waves of pirates, and sort of just have to hope they attack the chicks instead of the dudes. It works the first time, but not the second, so that's another reset. Attempt 4, I try to break up the waves by dividing incoming armies between Lina and Sita on opposite sides, but that doesn't work, so it's another reset for me. Attempt 5 doesn't last long, I lost George, don't ask why I'm working so hard to save him. Attempt 6 sees Julian blocking the fort, so it's not destroyed, but the thief attacks, which surprises me, meaning another reset. Attempt 7 actually turns out pretty good, despite what Sita getting punched in the face would make you think. Lena dodges for once, and Sita continues being the evasive gal I know she is. Cocaine helping Lena one-shot the western pirates, while Sita continues blocking the eastern ones. Marth's support puts in the work, almost as much work as this tree. Sita seriously keeps the party together, letting Lena get one more point of HP and luck, but once the reinforcements start coming, they gotta get moving to the western fort, doing amazing work to keep the guys safe from the pirates. But man, does Merm Sita work a lot better than I expected. But exactly as predicted, they swarm me like Zerg, so I decided to come up with a risky strategy of putting Lena in range of some enemies with cocaine equipped, so she can one-shot enemies. The fear of said one-shotting hopefully makes it so the AI doesn't attack her out of fear of, instant death. It does not. Alright, here we go again. Attempt 8 sees me reverting back to Pegasus Knight Sita, because I mean if 7 tries of Merm Sita fail, maybe Peg Sita is the way to go? Sita heads south to try intercepting some of the first group of pirates, while Lena continues to guide Marth's path to George. That's not to say that Sita doesn't do much, she's dealing with the main initial force, even if that does mean she gets overwhelmed and dies. Attempt 9 sees a similar strategy to last time, but instead of being aggressive, I play a bit more passively. I said a bit, because I am still murderous as all heck. Just because I have a smaller knife does not mean I do not have a knife. And then I reset because, I don't know, I just felt like it, get used to my random impulses. Whee! Attempt 10. Try attempt 9 again. The group moves as a single unit, Cocaine empowering Lena enough to delete units I don't like, and boy howdy, do I despise pirates. Lena gets magic and luck, and that luck means that the guy with the devil axe kills himself, instead of Sita, and they're still alive to continue fighting the good fight. Then the waves start coming, and I retreat to make it more difficult for the pirates to reach me. The water slows them down enough that I can take them in single bits, but then they come from 2 directions, and while I was scared, I knew I had to think quickly, having Lena make it so Marth can support Sita as she fights the eastern pirates. But there was so much coming in, and Lena's inability to dodge proves true as always, meaning once again, she dies, and losing 10 times in a row means I took a break to go do something less annoying. But then, I come back with a brand new idea. Not sucking. Attempt 11 sends the foot squad over to the right, while Sita tags along for moral support. While Lena picks off the guy blocking the path, Sita deals with the pirates coming from the sea, and while it's painful, it's not lethal, and that's good enough for me. I have Sita attack instead of healing, which while she misses, so does the enemy, and she's alive long enough to continue the slaughter as she takes out the hunter that's had me worried for so long, Lena cleaning up the filth she didn't take out. This means that yes, I am able to kill the thief and obtain that worm slayer for later in the game, right as the reinforcements begin to pool in. Cocaine lets Lena level up again, gaining magic, skill, speed, and luck, which is a fantastic level up for her. She does get hit, but she can't be hit by anyone else this turn, so she can retreat and heal up as more enemies flood in. Finding a good spot to hold out in is a must, because I don't think I can make it to the starting base in time, so the village area will have to do. The ocean tiles give the enemies more evasion, but it also makes them much slower, so I can work with this. Lena can tank one more hit, provided it's not by a steel axe, so I keep her in the front lines to take enemies out with Cocaine, as Sita does her Sita thing of being the best, with Sita and Lena swapping out who dodges and who gets punched in the face from the usual pattern. Sita heals while staying on the front lines, which pays off as the pirates keep dying off, but there's still a lot of them, and they're getting close to the men nearby. So I send Lena in that direction to prepare to counterattack while Sita blocks the guys from the right. The large amount of guys on the right means that there's an opening for us to retreat further, heading towards the start, but they're quickly catching up, and though there are no more reinforcements, there's still a bunch I have to clean up. After much thought, I decided to stand my ground rather than run any further, with Sita in range of Marth's support, though keeping him safe with her body. I also decide that I need to gamble to make this plan work, and to do so, I send Lena out to assassinate the Steel Axe pirate, putting her in range of the enemies that would have overwhelmed Sita had all of them hit. Thankfully, she's able to dodge one of the attacks, allowing her to survive enough to retreat and let Sita resume her duties of standing guard as she retreats to heal up. Sita's evasiveness allows the heroes to clear out the last of the reinforcements, and for once, this chapter is still. No more reinforcements, and no one else will move unless I get in range, so I take the time I've long since needed to heal up on the fort and get the items from the chests. Once the girls are healed up, I need to move smartly, because the last thing I want to do is do all that nonsense and RNG checks over again. Lina levels again after killing a mage, gaining HP, magic, skill, luck, and resistance, which may be her best level to date, as a few of the mage's friends follow suit. Aggression can only get me so far, so I pull back to make the numbers a bit more manageable. Sita and Lina teaming up to kill the enemies. There's just 6 enemies left, and only 4 I absolutely need to fight, so I'm approaching this cautiously. Sita finishes off the last pirate as Lina moves in to fight the dragon, as while tough, he's not able to attack her, and I'd rather use fire tomes to attack him, since those can be bought in the shop on the prep screen, rather than javelins, which I can only have so many of. Lina takes him out in one round of combat, and she doesn't even level from it. I decide to do something a little stupid, and fight these hunters just for a bit more XP, with Lina claiming one of their lives, and since she can take it, for once, I let her, as she hits 99 XP before we move on to the next. Oh wait, a blue-haired chick tells me that there's some females we can recruit over in Castle Delhi, but she also warns that this will be just as hard a challenge as what I just went through. Fun. Chapter 10. Canterlot Castle. This very large castle is Castle Delhi, and inside is Princess Maria, sister to Princess Minerva. If I can rescue Maria, then Minerva will join my cause and help Marth's Women Alliance. Problem. There's a bunch of dudes both in and outside the castle, and even if I delay moving in, 2 knights, 4 cavaliers, and 2 horsemen are going to spawn just a little further behind where we start, and they're going to be a major pain. Plus the guys inside are way scarier than the other enemies, because there's a group of them who are archers, as well as a sniper with a silver bow, meaning there is no ifs, ands, or buts. If he attacks Sita, he's going to kill her. I give Marth a door key so we can free Maria as we head towards the southern entrance. Sita uses her Rider's Bane to start clearing out the calves, with some assistance from Lina, who gains magic and luck. And then she dies because of course she does. Attempt 2 is another attempt at what I just did, but this time, Sita's not holding back and is trying to kill instantly. Lina gains magic and skill this time, hitting B rank tomes as she dies once again. The trauma is setting back in. Attempt 3 is another attempt at what I just did, but hopefully, using Please will give me the edge I need to clear out the calves, thanks to its massive amount of might and crit. Lina gains HP, luck, and res, which is an okay level up, but I'm fine with that since I'll keep it, with the girls able to take out 4 calves and can start making their way into the castle. I need to pick up the pace. Minerva is hot on my heels, and until we recruit Maria, she's going to be hostile, and the Hotchclaw is not a weapon I want to face, boasting 18 might on top of Minerva's 9 strength, the same as Sita's, with 80 hit, tied for the second most accurate axe. It's going to be a nightmare to deal with. Sita holds the castle entrance very well as Lina attacks the nearby knight, but it's here where I face the archer barrage. They're tough and accurate, having enough power to one-shot both of my characters, and then the reinforcements come in. Now there isn't any time to delay. I need to do something, or those enemies are going to kill someone. Sita stands at an 80% chance of being hit by the sniper, and even using Please, she needs to land a crit or get a miracle dodge, or it's over for her. And Lina can't help out much either, since the archers will kill her too. I can't even send Marth out to support Sita, because Lina can't make it to this spot, which would prevent the archers from being able to move around the girls and attack him. So the girls are on their own for this. After much planning and mathing, I decide to take the risk and attack. And thankfully, Sita lands the crit I need her to, as does Lina, meaning even though Sita is horribly injured, they clear the archer barrage, and I can recruit Maria. Maria is a poor unit, but since she's a usable unit, she's going to get plenty of attention. As a staff unit, she can of course heal, and she's also close to getting access to warp, so getting her there would give me either a mage or a cleric to use at once, or 2 clerics for double warp shenanigans. Plus, she's still a good source of resistance, so mages won't be a major issue. But man, that 0 defense, 15% HP growth ain't doing much for her. With the reinforcements closing in, I had to move quickly, since Sita was on the brink of death, and Lina followed shortly thereafter, thanks to being unable to escape the reinforcements. And then Sita died. Oh, you thought because I highlighted Maria that means I got to keep her? No, I didn't even make it to her. I died before I got there, so back to the start for me! Attempt 4. Something's gotta change. I considered making Lena a Pegasus Knight so she and Sita can work together in the skies, but instead, I decided on making her a cleric for warp shenanigans. I warp Marth over to recruit Maria for a very specific reason. Because once Marth talks to Maria and paints her blue, then Minerva begins moving towards Marth to recruit herself, meaning she won't slam that massive axe into one of my units. They can't group up with my main units because of, again, the Archer Battalion, but while nothing had gone wrong, I still reset because I realized that they are indeed trapped. I planned on using a key to unlock this door and let Minerva in that way, but not only would this hero kill someone, but I didn't even have a key to do that. Something else has got to change. Attempt 5 sees me trying something desperate, and that's using the online store to try and buy a promotion item for Sita. But Nintendo shut that down, so no point in trying anymore. I racked my brain for a long while, trying to figure out what in the world to do here, because I want to keep going, but I also don't know how to progress forward, which is when desperation leads to trial and error. I warp Marth to Maria to recruit her, and send Sita north hoping to arrive there and kill the hero, because he has a promotion item, the Master Seal, allowing me to promote one of my units and make them even better. Sita rushes over towards Lena so they can regroup, and Sita can give her the all-important Master Seal, which lets me promote Lena into a bishop, gaining a bunch of stats, that being 6 HP, 1 strength, 2 magic, 1 skill, 1 speed, 2 defense, and 1 movement. But more importantly, it gives her access to tomes and staves at the same time. Granted, at a lower rank than in Mage, but she doesn't have any tomes higher than D rank, so it doesn't matter much. Sita, without a Vulnerary, has to retreat, leaving Lena to fend for herself, and wow, who'd have guessed she died? Okay, thanks for making me waste all that time explaining just for you to die. Chapter 10, Princess Minerva, is truly the testing point of the run. If I can clear this, the amount of options we will have expand tremendously, and the likelihood of meeting a chapter like this in the future is incredibly low. But to get there, we have to clear a massive chapter with dangerous units, with maybe 1 or 2 functional units. Attempt 6 sees me trying something so desperate I feel stupid even for attempting it, of warping Sita in to one-shot the boss so the reinforcements don't come after me, as if the boss is dead, they won't spawn in. And Minerva one-shots Sita since she's not passive yet. Attempt 7 has Lena warping Sita over to the Cavaliers attacking, gaining luck as Marth moves in to back her up. The Cavaliers punch her in the face as planned, as I warp Marth in to recruit Minerva. Because here's the thing, while Minerva's objective switches from kill the player to talk to Marth, she's still classified as an enemy. So while I can't control her until she talks to Marth, the enemies won't attack her, meaning she can slip by the sniper without any issue. So all that's left is the remaining units. Sita gets dangerously close to dying, but her good enough bulk is enough to keep her in the fray thanks to Vulnerries and dodging. It gets scary, but she manages to outlast and survive, allowing her to pass Minerva as she flies north to kill the boss and stop the reinforcements. He hits Sita and really hurts her, but she survives and takes him out, his knight buddy trying to avenge him but just dying instead. Now comes the hard part, the rescue. Sita can rest on the fort to heal, but Maria, and more importantly Marth, are still trapped between snipers and a locked door. So it's quite literally just a waiting game until Minerva arrives and I can attempt a rescue. Sita kills the thief right as Minerva arrives and rescues the 2 M's. Minerva may be the best unit this army is going to get, especially right out of the gate. As a pre-promote, she doesn't need an item to promote, and can not only move 10 spaces, but if I wanted her to, she can swap to 5 really good classes. The Swift Swordmaster, the Crit Landing Sniper, the Tanky Paladin, and the Magic and Healing Bishop and Sage. But most of the time, she should be a Draco Knight, as she has an A rank in Axes, and when that means she gains 15 hit against most of the game, on top of the normal triangle, and has a good enough Lance rank, she's going to be effective as a Draco Knight. Plus, she's flying, so high movement, and not being blocked by most things is a great option. And while she is weak to archers and a bit worse at fighting mages due to her lower resistance and has shaky growths, at least according to most games, Minerva is almost guaranteed to be the MVP. But just because she's there does not mean that the day is safe. Lina hits max level with +1 res as I pick up some items for Minerva to use in said rescue attempt, as Sita acquires the Master Seal. How exactly I'm going to get them out is a tough question. Lina promoting in the meanwhile, getting the same bonuses as earlier, but ranking up staves as well, before sending them down to join in Minerva's assault to try a pincer maneuver. Lina gets to work, since she can attack now, as I prepare for the most dangerous maneuver I've tried yet. Lina attacks the first archer and kills him. Minerva weakens the sniper, allowing for Sita to pick him off. And since the remaining archer can't kill anyone and can't crit, I surround him on all sides before letting Minerva beat him to death with the lance I gave her. And just like that, the rescue is complete. All that's left to do is have Maria spam heals to gain XP, almost forget this chest right here and have to run back to get the physics staff, let Minerva kill the cleric, and buy a bunch of vulneraries, hand axes, and javelins so I can stock up on them for later. Then I send Marth to claim the castle and end this horrible chapter. Chapter 11. Junes. Here at Junes, we have a bunch of ballisticians to attack from 10 spaces away, a bustling slave market, and absolutely every human rights violations. Hey, why is Anna here? Regardless, I equip my gals with the supplies they need, like staves to train up with, vulneraries to heal themselves with, and a fire tome for Marth, for the mage we can recruit in this chapter. As mentioned in the advertisement, Junes is surrounded by a ton of ballisticians who have a ton of range, and most are effective against flying units, so staying out of their range while moving towards the slave market is very important. And look, I know slaves are not good to own, but neither is letting evil dragons take over the world, so sometimes morals come before challenge runs. Lina unfortunately runs out of cocaine, a sad day for us all, but even without it, she's still an effective combatant thanks to her high magic and speed. So while she can't double these mercenaries, they can't double her either, and take way more damage in return. Maria's first level gives her literally nothing, which is honestly really funny. While Minerva and Lina continue to sweep, Lina gaining magic, HP, luck, and resistance from a level up, before they clear out the remaining bandits. A quick trip to the shops to pick up a mend and some more tomes, before Marth heads over to the slave market, but instead of buying a slave, Marth instead steals her, because crimes aren't crimes if committed against criminals, meaning the army now has a brand new Lind. Lind definitely has advantages to her, namely the powerful aura tome, the fact she targets a resistance instead of defense, something that outside of Peg Knights and Mages, no unit has, and that for Shadow Dragon, she's got pretty good offensive growths. However, her bases are absolutely atrocious, with some of her stats losing to Maria of all characters. And even trained, Lind's durability is terrible. With 3 base defense and a 0% growth, she's going to fold if anything looks at her. Another durability issue is Aura, which only exists on her or in a missable mission requiring me to kill a female unit, only having 25 uses, which isn't amazing in the grand scheme of things considering javelins, which can be bought in several locations, have 30. Regardless, she's in the army now, and I don't see why I shouldn't use her. A bit more shopping occurs before I head north and are presented with the first ballistician I can handle, one equipped with a Thunderbolt. It only has 10 uses, and it targets resistance, so my units can tank it much better. Plus, by setting Minerva in the range to break it, Maria can get experience by healing the 7 damage Minerva takes, giving Maria no stat ups again, and HP, luck, and res. This is not going to go well for her stat-wise, is this? Minerva levels up as my army inches closer towards the castle, gaining HP and defense to make her a much better tank, as Lind gets her first kill, gaining +1 speed on level up. Plus, since this ballistician can't move and doesn't have a weapon, he's free to be pummeled on by Lind, followed by Lind luring a sniper in for Lind to kill as well for more XP. But she misses, so Minerva has to pick up her slack. Minerva then moves in to fight all the calves and finish the other ballistician, her tankiness keeping her alive as she does her best Doom Guy impersonation. She even gains HP, skill, and speed out of it. I wanted to try recruiting Jake in order to save Anna's boyfriend, but he runs a decent chance of one-shotting Sita, and she needs to take at least one hit in order to reach him to recruit him, so Minerva has to put him down. Sorry bud, you aren't worth the use of warp it would take to save you. Lena kills a dragon to get a stat booster and levels, gaining HP, skill, and luck, and Maria gets speed and luck from healing her. Sita gets the stat booster, pushing her to having 11 strength, the most I've ever seen a Sita have, and she hasn't even promoted yet. Finally, Lind gets the boss kill, as she gets luck out of it. Lame, but at least I beat the chapter on my first attempt. Also, she does some magic dust and speed wings to get 2 more points of magic and speed. Chapter 12. Castle Dracula. Castle Dracula has a major annoyance in the prison over here, since it contains 5 units, and only one of them is usable. And considering the enemies surrounding it, this means a mandatory warp usage, starting the chapter off by sending Sita off to clear the enemies surrounding the prison, leaving an area big enough for the prisoners to stay safe. As Lind uses the mighty Aura Tome to obliterate small-time crooks for their stuff, like an armor slayer. Killing the other thief is important, since he has another warp staff, which is useful since Lena's literally just broke. Minerva rides off to assist Lena with her hammer, making short work of the knights. Then, when the enemy does mostly nothing, Lind can finish the warp thief off, gaining magic and luck in the process, as Julian and Marth start making their way to the prison to let the inmates out and equip the one usable unit with weapons. But bad news, it's time for spawns from behind, as 2 cavaliers and horsemen begin trailing behind us. I have no idea how or why or where they're coming from, but man does this suck. But at least now I got Midia the Paladin. Midia lives up to her name as a very mediocre unit who requires quite a lot of investment to be made good. But since she's one of 11 units I can use through this entire run, she's going to get favoritism. Her skill, speed, and HP are really good for this game, and Paladin is one of the best classes thanks to its high movement, decent resistance, and really good weapon ranks, even if Midia only has one higher than base. Her strength and especially defense are pretty bad, both in base and growth, so if I get more strength boosting items, they're probably going to get funneled straight into her. Alright unit, but it's going to be a bit before she really blossoms. Once she gets her hand on some weapons, Minerva levels and gets HP and skill, as Lind nearly gets killed by her own kind, before dying for real. Chapter reset time. Attempt 2 sees Maria getting a much better level up, gaining magic, skill, speed, luck, and resistance, which is basically the best level up she can get, as Sita makes a safe space for the prisoners to sit without getting attacked. Minerva flying fast to join up with her. Lind and Lena clear out the thieves to get the Armor Slayer and Warp Staff, as Minerva gets a juicy speed luck level. As the prisoners are secure and safe, Julian rushes in to unlock the door and free them. Once again, Midia is outfitted and ready to be put to use, as the mages and reinforcement mounts come closer. Oh yeah, and there's a paladin and his guard marching towards the girlies, so that's fun. Lind gets an alright level up in skill and speed though, so that's pretty cool. Midia gets her first instance of combat, and she's alright. Not amazing or anything, but just alright. She and Sita work together to use their effective weapons, effectively. Lena getting magic with her level up, and while I do manage to clean up the paladins and his crooks, one of them survives and runs a chance of killing Maria. So in a last-ditch effort to keep her safe, I use physics to hopefully gain enough speed to not be doubled, and what do you know, that's the only stat she gained. He attacks Lind instead, which she counterattacks and gets a great level up, HP, skill, luck, and res. Oh, how I wanted the 2 stats she didn't get. Lena almost dies, but since she doesn't, I can keep going and training up my scrubs, while also considering who to use the Master Seal I just got off the Paladin. Should I use it right now and get another Draco Knight, who can wield axes and move 10 spaces, or should I save it for Maria or Lind to make them more able to aid the army, by either gaining the ability to attack or heal? For right now, I just focus on the incoming waves of mounted jerks who want the heads of my units, but they give Lind every single stat she can level, so that's appreciated. Midia also levels and gains HP, strength, and speed, so that's very nice. I decide to use the Master Seal on Sita right now so she can start gaining levels again. Girl has been capped since chapter 6, and it's about time I start growing her up again. And she gets amazing promotion gains. 4 HP and strength, 5 defense, 2 move, and while she does lose 1 point of magic and 3 resistance, the gains are well worth the loss, as well as that she can now wield axes, so that's cool. Maria also levels, but just gains 1 point of luck, so that's sad. Both groups get attacked by very powerful enemies, which does hurt, but survival is all that matters. So with Lind killing the fire dragon with a fire spell, Midia finishes off the general so Marth and Julian can rob the chests. For the final encounter, there's a mage who can't move and 2 clerics, which sounds fine, but more dangerously, a powerful sniper with a silver bow, when 2 of my units are flyers. Thankfully, I've got a plan, because these clerics won't move unless someone within 10 spaces needs healing, and since Sita can one-shot the boss, no one needs healing, and thus, they won't move, and will protect Sita from being attacked by the sniper. And then I kill the cleric for XP because I'm lazy, but Midia survives his attack and is able to trap him in the corner, so it's fine. Maria levels again from healing and getting HP, skill, and luck, as does Lind getting HP and magic, as Marth runs down to get the last treasure in this chapter, which, by the way, didn't mention it at all, but I got some good stuff. Outside of what was already mentioned, there was an arm scroll, a large bullion, a dragon pike, a silver sword, and most importantly, boots, which grants one of my units a one-time buff of 2 extra points of movement. Also, I bought a handful of killing edges because they're good weapons, and thus I end the chapter, getting the legendary Parthia, which none of my units can use. Chapter 13. D-Day. Welcome to my least favorite chapter, perhaps in the entire series. Outside of this cleric here, Astrum, and these 2 thieves, every enemy in this chapter is a ballistician, meaning 3 to 10 range, and since they are grouped together and a few of them can even move, they're going to bombard my units with either Thunderbolt, which targets resistance, so it's not the worst thing in the world, Stone Hoist, which is powerful, but inaccurate, but my luck sucks so it'll probably hit anyway, the incredibly strong and accurate Hoist Flame, and worst of all, Aerospate, which, yes, is effective against flying units. Before I start the chapter, I have to do a bit of class swapping. Sita and Minerva into Paladins, and Lena into a Sage instead of Bishop, in order to force her tome rank to be A, since that will give her better rank bonuses, and staffs don't have a rank bonus, and I don't have any B or A rank staves that I want to use right now. So the +2 attack, +5 hit is probably better in the long run. I give Lind the boots in order to make her more deadly, and so she can keep up with her mounted allies, before I start the chapter after some positioning. Midia is clearly the preferred target of the calves, when I realize something terrible. Astrum can't be recruited, not now, maybe not ever. Even if I were to get Midia over to recruit him, the massive amounts of ballisticians means that at least one of them are going to aim at him and fail the run. So I have to reset and come up with a different strategy. Attempt 2's strategy is to forge a stupidly strong killing edge and make Sita into a swordmaster to potentially one-shot the boss so Marth can skip this entire chapter, because while I would like a Rider's Bane and Wormslayer, and the shop is mighty juicy, I'd rather not deal with any of this. Sita fails to crit, and I already warped Marth in, so another reset. But attempt 3 sees her landing the crit, killing the boss, and allowing Marth to wrap up the chapter. Also, Lena gets magic from warping, so nice. Chapter 14. Bowser's Castle. The next castle in our path is the Land of Sorrow, where King Joel intends on making everyone's days worse. Mine, his soldiers, my DS, it's agony for everyone. I bring along Julian because he can do something I literally didn't know existed in this game, lowering this drawbridge. There's something I desperately need as well, that being the silver card in this chest right here. The silver card makes all purchases by she who wields it to be halved, allowing for insane discounts on expensive items, allowing me to spread my money even more thinly. But it is inside a room with a powerful sniper, a dangerous foe. But I've got a weapon on my side, Midia, who I turned into a sniper. You may say it's stupid. I say you're probably right, but I'm doing it anyways. Sita and Minerva rush over towards it to secure the area, Sita gaining strength, skill, speed, and luck, proving why she's the most important unit in the run, while the infantry units charge across the drawbridge. Minerva gains strength, skill, speed, and defense, proving why she's the most important unit in my heart, while Medea continues to be trained to use the bow. Maria gets HP, skill, luck, and resistance, while Medea gets her first sniper level, thanks to a crit, and gets HP, strength, skill, and speed, which is again, another really good level. Sita heads over to reunite with Minerva to kill some thieves. Medea continues to act as the lead for the foot units. However, for once, I am the one to get reinforcements. Two of Minerva's subordinates, Palla and Katria, come flying in to recruit themselves by talking to Marth, which is very nice since that's 2 more units I can use, upping my total now to 8 usable units. Palla is the eldest White Wing, and is by far the strongest of the sisters right out the gate. She has the highest strength of her sisters, and since she's unpromoted at level 8, she's got 12 levels and promotion to further increase that strength, with a 55% chance each level up. Plus, with her base weapon rank of B, she can wield every lance of the game outside the legendary Gharnef. So she can use the Killer Lance, be effective against dragons and mounted units, and use the powerful Silver Lance. However, while her status as a flyer is useful, it is also a detriment, so that's something to be careful of moving forward. Plus, her defensive growths are far from good. A base 8 and 25% growth is not great, and her 25% speed is also bad, even if her 13 base helps keep her ahead for the majority of the journey. Katria is the middle White Wing, and is a bit worse than Palla at base, but does have better growths. Her strength is only 10% lower than Palla, but in exchange, she's got a 10% higher skill, 30% higher luck, and most importantly, 40% higher speed. This means that she is far more likely to crit, and will keep a higher speed than her sister thanks to her higher growth, as well as facing less crits than Palla. She's got C rank lances, which is still pretty good, but she is still a flyer, and her defense is exactly the same as hers, so she's not perfect. But she should be better than her sister if her growths work in her favor. Their youngest sister S is going on a probably cool adventure to grab a sword for me, while my units perform a bit more cleanup, or those in the throne room and the treasure room. But I knew I needed to rush into this building because there was about to be a bunch of Pegasus Knights coming to take me out, so being in a very protected area is a very big advantage. Palla and Katria block the door to deal with the melee Peg Knights, while Medea the sniper stands in range of the Javelin Peg Knights. Lind levels in the process of helping the flyers, gaining magic skill and speed, as Medea gains HP and speed as the flyers continue to protect the weaker units. Katria's first level up gives her HP and skill, Maria gets magic, skill, and res as more and more Peg Knights drop to the ground, and there doesn't appear to be an end in sight, Katria gaining HP, strength, skill, speed, as the final one dies. I guess there was an end in sight. The army marches on towards King Jewel to kill him, while I send Medea to fight the sniper in order to obtain the silver card, Minerva luring the enemies out of the throne room so the lower level units can snipe the kills. Maria levels magic, skill, speed, and luck from patching out my scrubs, as Palla gains strength and strength alone, before my units draw their attention to Jewel. Jewel himself is actually quite dangerous, with his strength low rolled to 11, a silver lance, and more dangerously, a killer bow. He's not going to be an easy kill at least, especially with 16 defense on top of the 2 defense and 30 avoid from the throne. Medea takes out the sniper and gets HP, strength, and luck out of it, which is very nice, as Julian gets the bullion and the silver card. As a reward, he gets to go on a shopping trip, buying a bunch of Rider's Banes, since they're only 600 gold, and quite a bit of Thunder Tomes and Vulneraries, since they're even cheaper, at 210 gold and 180 gold apiece. Back at the boss, Sita chucks her javelins at him, weakening him enough for Lynn to try and kill him, but since she missed, Minerva had to finish him off, getting HP, strength, skill, and speed, allowing me to finish out the chapter. Chapter 15, Gerudo Desert. Now this chapter is going to be an annoyance, because we have a special appearance from one of the main villains of the game, Gharnef. While his stats are impressive, more dangerous is his tome, Imhulu. It has a might of 14, more than most units have res, but more dangerously than that is that it nullifies the damage from all attacks outside of Starlight. something I don't have. And he's not even one of those enemies who only attack if a unit is in range or close to being in range. He starts moving towards my army the second the map begins, and he's going to be aggressive until he leaves on turn 6. I equip my units with the cool new items I bought last chapter, as well as some basic tier weapons to make sure they don't break said cool stuff immediately. My army was divided into 2 factions, the Flyers and the Not. The Flyers move north to fight the mages and deal with the other Flyers, while the Not units keep to the right to follow the path, and deal with the incoming Gharnef. Lind gets magic and luck from killing a mage, while Lena prepares to engage with the big scary enemies, like Gharnef, and the Flyers continue battling up north. Then Pala got crit by a random mage, so I had to reset. Attempt 2 sees me swapping Lena over to Bishop in order to have more resistance against the enemy's attack. If I hadn't sold the Ward Staff that you get from Wendell, I could have used it to buff her resistance, but since I sold it, I'm going to have to just trust her own base resistance. Lind's level goes a bit better, getting HP, magic, and luck. I then send Lind off to go block Gharnef for the next 6 turns, Maria getting luck and resistance. And then I realize that Lena gets doubled by him, so I have her run off to rejoin the group as the Flyers run off to try to do what they did last time, but more successfully. Lena gives Gharnef the runaround while the rest of my footmen march to go assist her. Sita meanwhile recovering a recover staff from a thief. Pala levels from fighting the mages, gaining HP, strength, and skill. The troop's still slocking through hell as Sita kills the boss, removing his long-range damage potential, and giving her HP, strength, skill, and luck. Unfortunately, Lena got overpowered by Gharnef and a Draco Knight, and she dies. Attempt 3 time. This time, Lind gets a much better level up, getting HP, magic, skill, speed, luck, and resistance. Every stat she can increase in her current class. Maria gains skill, luck, and resistance from prepping Midia for the incoming Draco Knights. Katria killing a thief and getting speed and luck. And now with all those level ups done, it's time to deal with Gharnef. Poor positioning means that Lena can't completely block his path, meaning I have to do something drastic. And that drastic thing is have Lena mostly block him, but since Lind attacked and killed the Draco Knight, she's stuck and injured, so I do something so gigabrain, it's unthinkable. I have Maria heal Lind and steal her tomes. I do this because, if you remember, her tomes weigh her down, but if she's not weighed down, she can't be doubled by Gharnef, and she can survive a round of combat to give me more time to formulate a plan. And then Gharnef misses anyways, so that's even better! Despite me misplacing Minerva, she somehow survives, despite every mage having a chance of killing her. The Peg girls team up and beat a Wyvern Lord, Katri even getting speed and defense out of it, while the Draco gals finish off the boss, Minerva getting HP, skill, speed, and luck from the kill. Lena continues offering protection for the scrubs as she sits on the fort to heal damage, as Sita levels as well, getting HP, skill, speed, and luck, before Gharnef gets bored I guess and just leaves. All that's left to deal with is the reinforcement mages and a few stragglers. Also Katria levels again, getting strength, skill, and luck. Julian takes the silver card and prepares to head to the shops as the Flyers return with the group to heal up after getting their butts kicked. Lind gets HP and skill from dealing with the endless wave of mages, and Maria gets magic, speed, luck, and resistance. Now that the sands are still, Marth heads open to open the chests, as Sita gets strength, skill, and speed, and Julian buys a bunch of ranged weapons, killing edges, steel weapons, men's, and vulneraries, all for a massively discounted price. Maria gets HP and luck, and now all that's left is wait for Marth to wander the sands until he makes it to the castle. It takes a while. Chapter 16. The Siege of Orgrimmar. Now it's time to retake Marth's home, the one seen in the tutorial, that is if I could have played it. Important landmarks here are these villages, which can either give me Samson or Aaron, not both, but they're both male, so I just want their stuff. So I'll probably pick Aaron for his killing lance, as well as Zane, who can transform into other units, but I don't count Lind as a male for her male disguise, so Zane is not usable. There's a bunch of Draco Knights, and I don't see much purpose in characters running off, so I make Minerva and Sita Paladins, which hurts a little bit, but not that much. Everyone who can gets a Rider's Bane to deal with the mounted jerks, and I struggle to decide what class to make Pala and Katria, because I know there's going to be a ton of horseman reinforcements, so I don't want them to face effective damage. But I decide for my first attempt to just try it. Cause why not? Despite their attempts to use effective weapons, Sita's just too evasive, and she doesn't even take a single point of damage. Medea kills the last Draco Knight, getting HP, skill, and speed out of it, while Lind works to free Zane from his prison. And while it's going to take a bit, she does level from it, getting magic, skill, luck, and res. Palla gets HP, strength, skill, speed, defense, and resistance out of a thief, while Marth recruits Aaron for his stuff. And it's pretty good stuff. Sita levels again, and gets HP, speed, and luck as the first wave of mounted enemies arrive. The mounted units are incredibly dangerous thanks to their pretty good strength and steel and killer bows, but thankfully, hitting end turn and praying works out in my favor. Lind meanwhile gets the kill on the second hero in the prison, getting magic and luck, as well as another Master Seal. The horsemen are taken out as Sita and Minerva head back to prepare to deal with the incoming waves of reinforcements, as my units continue south, Katria dealing 2 damage to a general, and getting strength, skill, and speed out of it, before Lena obliterates him, getting skill and resistance out of it. Chip damage, baby. Maria gets luck in her third to last level up, as they continue marching and waiting, before the enemies I sent Minerva and Sita to deal with behind us, right as a knight and cavalier spawns south of the castle. Minerva grows HP and strength while fighting off the cavaliers, as the girls south continue fighting off the cavaliers, Palla getting strength and skill as she clears the path to the castle. Sita getting HP, skill, speed, and luck, Medea getting HP, skill, and speed, Katria getting skill and speed, and Marth gets a shopping addiction. Maria keeps my units alive as they continue marching towards the castle, even getting skill and luck in her second to last level up, just one more before I'll promote her. Minerva gets HP and strength after defeating another wave of horsemen as Julian opens the door to the prison, letting Zane free and letting Lind join in the storming of the castle. Honestly, the last few defenders of the castle aren't even that threatening. They get their butt kicked and even give Sita HP and defense, and Palla strength and skill. All that's left is the fortified cleric and the boss guarding the door, Halstad. And he is kind of dangerous. Not only does he have a 13 strength and a B rank in his 2 weapons, lances and bows, giving him +1 attack and +1 hit, but both of his weapons are killer weapons, which are very likely to kill my units. However, since he starts with a killer lance, Lind can move in and hit him twice with aura to finish him off quickly, rewarding her with magic, skill, and luck. Also, Maria hits max level, getting skill out of her final level up, and then can promote, gaining 6 HP, 1 strength, 2 magic, 1 skill, 1 speed, 2 defense, and 1 movement. Now she can be swapped to Sage for D-rank tomes, but now it's time to storm the castle and take it back. Chapter 17, Orgrimmar itself. Reclassing Maria into a Sage comes with not only an additional point of magic, but also 2 points of strength, allowing her to lose less speed when wielding heavy tomes, which, let's be honest, she could use the speed. Also, I give her a few stat boosters, boosting Medea's strength and resistance, and Lind's defense. To start this attempt, I warp Minerva into attack and hold this position, so the thieves who make off with the treasure can't, as the rest of my units follow in that way to assist, except for Sita, who runs off to fight some bishops and get a fortify for Maria or Lena to use. Sita also finishes off the last healer and gets the member card, which will be very useful soon, as Minerva continues her job of being a door, and the rest of my army moves in. Palla finally gets to use that dragon pike that she joins the army with, but unfortunately, Minerva gets overwhelmed and taken out, so I have to reset in order to keep my wife alive. Attempt 2, and after repairing some weapons, I send him out again with much of a similar approach, except swapping Sita and Minerva. Sita clearing out her area easily, while Minerva struggles just a bit, but she survives, and kills those she needs to, and that's all that matters. Lind and Palla take out the dragon again, and she gets HP, strength, skill, speed, and luck out of retaliating and killing a mage. Sita just getting skill from a thief, and Lena just gets luck out of healing her. Minerva gets strength and luck from a random mage. Sita saves the rest of the treasure from Marth or Julian to yoink as I begin building up my strategy for fighting the dragons. Stand out of their range and chuck javelins at them because I am cheap. Now all I need to do is not be stupid, and no one should die from this. Lind gets speed from killing a knight guarding the leader dragon guy as my units storm his throne, Julian liberating all the valuables from his chest as he attempts to summon puny reinforcements. And then Treachery decided it'd be really funny to miss 2 different 70s and get hit by 3 79s, meaning the run's dead and I have to reset. Attempt 3. I have a stern talk with Treachery about her behavior before trying that again. Goes pretty good overall. Lena gets magic, skill, luck, and resistance from killing a lesser mage. Sita gets HP, skill, and luck from killing a dirty thief, but I'll be honest, you've seen this chapter almost in its entirety in the last run. So skipping ahead just a bit for one chapter, my units gain these things, I get these things from the secret shop located right here. Chapter 18. Sardinia. Time to use all those items I picked up in the last chapter, notably promoting Palla and Treachery, giving them these benefits, and leaving poor Lind as the only unpromoted unit in my army currently. After a bit of class juggling and more stat boosters, that being Minerva getting +2 skill, Palla getting +2 speed, Sita +2 defense, we move out to take the Grustian Knights head-on in the path below. Midia stands on the fort before obliterating an enemy with her killer bow. Lena getting skill from a kill, as Palla and Sita show off why I've put the work into them. Treachery and Minerva swoop in to deal with some dangerous horsemen, but Minerva misses her second attack, meaning that the 2 flyers are in range of a bow unit, and this could lead to a tragedy. However, my units have been trained so well that they're bulky enough to take the shot, and clear out the rest of the enemies except those guarding the castle, before S spawns in and moves to speak with Marth. S' primary problems are that she has terrible bases outside of speed and luck, she's weak to bows, and can't get access to terrain, and her defense is only 20%. However, just about everything else about her is awesome, provided you have a bit of luck with her stats. She is the namesake of the Est archetype for a reason. Her bases are terrible, but her growths are pretty good across the board, especially for this game. 55% strength, 60% skill, 55 speed, putting as many levels as possible into her to get those stats up as soon as possible is the name of the game. Worse, it's time to prepare for the incoming waves of troops from these forts. 1 paladin, 1 hunter, and 2 cavaliers. And I need to watch out for this spot as well, because it too will soon start spawning units. That being a paladin that has a silver sword, which could potentially take out some of my squishier units in a single strike. Nonetheless, Marth takes the sword he can't use, gives S some weapons she can use, as the rest of my army engages to take out the last non-stationary defenders. Sita gets strength and skill from a kill, and Midia gets HP, speed, and luck, making her more evasive and dodgy. The first wave arrives, and I only have 2 turns to take them out and retreat before the next wave arrives. Treachery gets HP and speed out of a kill as I continue to train up Est, her first level, rewarding her with speed and luck. She's not strong enough to take out a unit all by herself so far, so in order to make up for that, I have her use effective weaponry and take out units already injured. For those unaware of why I'm working hard to train her, it's because of a special mechanic exclusive, in this game at least, to her and her sisters. Triangle attack. If the 3 sisters surround an opponent, and at least one of them can attack at melee range, they'll initiate a triangle attack, which means that not only is the first attack guaranteed to hit, but it's guaranteed to land a critical hit. Meaning that even if someone has a pathetic hit chance or is going to get obliterated on a counterattack, equipping an effective weapon will delete the enemy unit for minimal effort. And if I'm going to use that, might as well make her a decent unit in other regards as well. The first wave is picked clean, and thus I can begin the incredible tactic of moving backwards to avoid getting ganked by the units that spawn in, rushing in to kill all the enemies in one turn, and then falling back to repeat the process. And what do you know, my Gigabrain tactic works well. Est even launching the first triangle attack thanks to my expert planning, and I get a couple levels out of it. Est gets HP, skill, speed, luck, and defense, HP, strength, speed, luck, HP, strength, speed, HP, strength, skill, strength and skill. Once it's time to move on to the boss himself, Minerva tanks as usual while Midia chips the boss. Since he doesn't have a ranged weapon, my ranged attacks can kick his butt entirely for free. Midia showing him the power of the bow and getting HP, speed, luck, and defense out of it, before Lind finishes him off and steals his Master Seal. Minerva makes a quick trip to the shops to sell some stuff I don't need anymore, or that I can't even use in the case of the Stone Hoist, and once she's done getting us money, Marth caps the point, and I'm free to move on to the next stage of the game. Chapter 19. Cynthia's House. Good news! I'm about to get the most important unit of this entire run. Bad news, she's mind-controlled by the evil raisin named Gharnef, and the only way to free her is by having Bantu talk to her. This chapter also has the very important items of the Light Sphere, Geosphere, and way more importantly, the Star Sphere. The Light Sphere ignores enemy terrain bonuses, making them easier to hit, but that's incredibly situationally useful. The Geosphere deals 13 damage to all units on the map, and that can't be negated, and while that's dangerous, it could be very useful for clearing out entire waves of enemies. And finally, the Star Sphere, which makes it so that the weapons and staves in a unit's inventory do not deplete uses when the Star Sphere is in someone's inventory, which is incredibly useful. Also, I decided to finally promote Lind, giving her 6 points of HP, 3 points of strength, 1 point in magic, skill, speed, and defense, and 2 points of resistance. This also allows her to get access to the promoted classes for reclassing purposes. My strategy for this first attempt was about as basic as possible: warp Bantu in and hope for the best. I'm not super stupid, as I gave him a Firestone in order to buff his stats according to this wiki page, so that way it's less likely for him to get attacked. To help back him up, Lena warps Pala in to assist, and gets 1 point of magic out of it. Bantu snaps Tiki out of her mind control, and it's time to start training her into a killing machine. Tiki is the most important unit in this run, absolutely no questions asked. For starters, while her base stats are bad, she has access to the Dragon Stones, which gives her a bunch of stats, and lets her be effective against dragons, and her native stone, the Divine Stone, is effective against dragons, and while it only has 30 uses, and I can't get another one unless I kill her and go to a different mission, I'll be able to repair it soon, as well as getting the Star Sphere to help increase how long I can use the Divine Stone. Plus, her growths are actually pretty good, outside of defense, but her stone can help with that, as well as stat boosters. Since this cleric won't move, Bantu is safe once Tiki kills this mage, so he's safe from danger. Her first level up is absolutely amazing, getting HP, strength, skill, speed, and luck. Most of this chapter is clearing out the halls before going into each room, kicking the door down, and clearing the room out of any and all usable items or kill anyone alive in there. No, I'm not making the easy joke. I'm not a British person who just had a minor jab thrown at their food. Est levels again and gets HP, strength, skill, and speed, and luck, as the army continues marching north to assist Tiki and Pala, who kills a hero and gets strength and skill. I get into a dangerous situation, as one of the random thieves opens a door that allows a mage with a powerful tome a chance to attack Sita and deal major damage, and thanks to the thieves, she's stuck in place. Tiki takes out the cleric in order to lower the amount the enemies can heal in a turn, as my units rush to Sita's aid. I decide the best action is to put Sita and Pala in range of the mage, and have both of them heal in order to survive an attack, and put Marth in Sita's range for that support bonus. The mage then almost kills Katria, but she's able to hang on as they get another turn to clean this up. Est kills a thief and levels again, getting strength, skill, speed, and luck. Her, after gaining 7 levels, has the same strength Katria has now without promotion bonuses, so you can see why I'm putting in the work for her. Tiki takes out the Physic Cleric to cancel out the enemy's ability to heal, and gets HP and luck out of it, which is nice, but even nicer is Midia using the longbow I bought her to snipe the dangerous mage and put an end to his rampage. Now it's time to clear out the rooms. But first, Marth picks up the Star Sphere, which is incredibly useful, and then gives it to Tiki, so her powerful but limited Divine Stone is now powerful and unlimited. Now it's time to train her up, because I want to kill her for the final boss fight, and Tiki is probably the best chance of that. Her Divine Stone is the only weapon effective against the titular Shadow Dragon. As such, I want her to be the one who kills him, since he killed her mom, Naga. She kills a thief and gets the Light Sphere, which is kind of important, as Maria heals Est and gains speed and luck. Now that Tiki has the Star Sphere and can use her stone indefinitely, it's time to put that dragon to good use. Each time I open the door, it's either chests or an enemy. If it's chests, I send Marth to open them up. And if it's an enemy, I have Tiki attack it for the XP. Maybe have someone else weaken it for the kill, or steal it. Midia! Doing this gets me a Seraph Robe, Spirit Dust, Speedwing, 2 Master Seals, Pure Water, an XL Bullion, a Bolganone, the Geosphere, and gets Tiki 2 HP, 1 Strength, 2 Skill, 2 Speed, and 2 Luck. With my robbing of this holy temple over, I wrap up the chapter and cap the point. Chapter 20. Camus the Sable. This chapter is going to be a challenge. Not because, the enemy is using some annoying strategy, no, just because I'm facing tough opponents instead of a gimmick. Lots of paladins, knights, and even a few ballisticians placed in key locations, lots of rough terrain, and a few very essential items I need to collect. For starters, I send my flyers off to take out the ballistician, and deal with the top core of paladins. They're incredibly powerful because they all have decent stats and silver swords, so while I need to be protective of Est, the rest of the gal should be able to handle it. The infantry meanwhile heads south to protect Marth as he heads towards this village for a very important staff. Est's triangle attack takes out the ballistician as Minerva and her sisters prepare for incoming attacks, the team grouping up to wipe out the paladins. Katria and Est both get a level up out of killing the paladins, Katria getting HP, strength, and defense, Est meanwhile just getting luck. Tiki was my main line of defense for the infantry, not because she was the best at it, but because I needed her to get more XP. I need her to be trained as much as possible for the final chapter. Marth being in range of her in order to give her a support bonus is also super helpful for that. She takes a lot of damage and doesn't get a kill, but since she's alive, I can keep going and get revenge. Minerva chips a paladin and gets skill out of her level up, so that Est can get the kill and get skill, speed, and defense. I needed to move right out of Camus's range to stop this thief, and after a sad cutscene where Nynig gets rejected by Camus because he's softcore and nationalist, so instead of feeling sad, feel happy. Tiki got HP, speed, and luck from killing one of his men. Katria nearly gets killed by a combo of a ballistician and a paladin that can somehow walk on mountains, but she does get skill and speed out of it. Maria needs to use Fortify to patch up all my units, since the paladins did a lot more damage than I would have liked. Est gets another kill, making her even stronger, with a strength, skill, and luck boost. Once the last of the cavaliers are taken out, Pala wipes out the second ballistician, Maria uses Fortify once again and gets resistance to prepare my units for some incoming reinforcements. First, some knights come out of the forts to the south of us, Midia chipping one and gaining HP, skill, and speed, which lets Est finish it off with a triangle attack, as Sita wipes out the other knight as cavaliers start filing in, and become raw XP for Est and Tiki. Minerva gets hit with a crit, but she's alive still, before the horsemen come running to try and snipe one of my flyers. Tiki, the Divine Dragon, gets used to chip for Est, gaining HP, skill, and luck, while Est gets strength, speed, and luck. Something I kick myself for is not training Lynn's healing abilities, because yes, she's more of a fighter, but more staff users is never not a good thing. Sita takes out the second horseman and gets HP and skill as Marth rushes for the village while Julian heads for the shop. The village contains the incredibly useful hammer, which gives me 12 chances to restore something from any durability, even 1, all the way to full. Even the Divine Stone is not exclusive to this. Any item can be recovered to full, and she can do that 12 times. Julian's shopping trip mostly contains javelins and a few more Rider's Banes, steel weapons, and some more tomes, while Tiki meanwhile faced tanked attacks from the ballistician, in order to break his weapon so it didn't matter during my assault on the castle. I started repairing some rarer items I own, like Aura and the Hotcler, Lena even getting magic, skill, speed, and luck out of it. Eventually the weapon breaks, and it's time to move in and take out the boss, and Camus. Camus is easy enough, since all I have to do was surround him with my white wings and let Est's Rider's Bane take him out, rewarding me with the super weapon Gradivus, and rewarding Est with HP, strength, skill, luck, and defense. Tiki is warped in before the warp is repaired, so she can get some more XP out of these grunts. Minerva chipping the general to allow her to take it out in one shot. Meanwhile, the actual boss, Lorenz, is actually recruitable, so Sita talks him out of being red and shifting to blue. Midia taking out the cleric, Est doing the same, and Tiki finished off the ballistician before the chapter is wrapped up. Chapter 21. Hyrule Field. A big empty field with not much in it but trees and enemy units. Before the chapter begins, I give out some stat boosters. Lena getting magic +2, and Tiki getting 5 HP and 2 speed. I also promote Est, giving her the usual buffs that come from promoting a Pegasus Knight. Now that she can keep up with her sisters, and is currently a bit stronger than them, she is going to become an even better asset going forward. I maneuver my units around, making sure they all spawn in good positions, and that my infantry are ahead of the mounted, in order to make sure they all arrive at around the same time. Tiki takes the first hit and gains a bunch of stats, HP, strength, skill, speed, and luck, all in one level, as the White Wings begin dealing with the flyers. I start progressing slowly and carefully, out of fear of the sniper with the killer bow, who, while he may not be able to take out a unit in one shot, getting hit with a critical hit is not a good thing when you could be attacked by potentially 3 paladins. Maria gets a decent level up of HP, luck, and res as we close in on the castle. Maria surprises me by not only dodging a general's attack, but hitting him twice, the second being a critical hit. Pala meanwhile gets HP, skill, and speed out of a different enemy before her and her sisters swarm him and triangle attack out of revenge. Lind takes out a nearby Draco Knight and gets HP and luck from it, but I really would have preferred magic, but at least I wiped out a majority of the base enemies. All that's left to kill is the boss, before the incredibly powerful reinforcements come charging in. Est gets strength, skill, and speed as the rest of my army closes in, while Lena gets skill and resistance as I watch the northern forts. Maria recovers Lena's HP, getting HP, magic, speed, luck, and resistance. You know what? I think I should try fighting the reinforcements. That's just more XP for my units to gain. And while they're strong, that means that they're full of XP, instead of only being about 10 or 11 points. Sita kills one and gets HP, skill, and defense, meaning she's 1 point away from capping skill as the first wave crashes down on us. Triangle attack proves successful still, and Tiki takes out the guy with his dragon pike, proving that dragon is better than dragon pike, and gets HP, skill, and luck out of it, before she starts slaughtering the clerics for even more XP. I keep grinding XP because the last thing I want to do is have to reset this run because of poor stats, but I accidentally leave Marth in range of an enemy, meaning I have to reset one of the easier late game missions. Attempt 2 sees me doing the exact same thing again, because hey, if it worked once, I just have to not screw it up a second time. Marth and Julian stay far back this time, so there's zero chance of them getting into a tussle, as Tiki gets a pretty solid level up, HP, magic, skill, speed, and luck. Also, I think magic and strength are calculated for her damage, but I couldn't tell you. What, you expect me to know the game I'm playing? You're expecting too much of me. As my troops continue marching forward, I make sure that they're not on the brink of death, healing and leveling Tiki once again, this time getting her HP, skill, luck, and defense, capping her luck already, as Maria uses Fortify to heal my units, gaining speed and resistance out of it. Lind also levels, but she also dies, so no point telling you what stats she increased. Attempt 3 sees Tiki just as mad as I am, critting and exploding the first opponent and gaining HP, strength, skill, speed, luck, and defense, just to show me that this is the run I need to lock in on. She then gains HP, skill, speed, luck, and defense, meaning she's going to be really tanky from here on, especially considering the plus 15 defense from her stone. Sita leads the charge as Midia proves her usefulness, Maria using Fortify to keep them alive, gaining skill, luck, and resistance in the process. Midia also dies, but she manages to not get crit, and thus she survives. Except she doesn't. Attempt 4 on the stupid easy baby mission I should have beaten on my first attempt, Tiki is still just as angry, getting HP, strength, skill, speed, and luck, and then HP, magic, skill, speed, luck, for even more stats. Maria used Fortify as well to keep my units healed up, getting magic, skill, luck, and resistance. Lind nearly dies, but since she doesn't, she gets HP and skill as a treat. Healing everyone up, they continue clearing a path, and while the trio of paladins might seem scary, nah, not really, not when I have a Sita as strong as this one. Est levels by triangle attacking, getting strength and luck, as Tiki anticipates an incoming paladin, and Lind a mage. Both girls get the kill, Tiki getting HP, skill, and defense as we continue marching along. Lena gets skill, luck, and resistance out of her first level up in a while, and Pala gets HP, strength, and defense. The reinforcements start moving in, so I have to spread my units a bit thinner in order to clear them out, as Est's single level up of strength is actually not too bad to be honest. It does mean more damage after all. The reason why I'm fighting so hard to clear the enemies out is because of this secret shop right here, because it holds 3 energy boosts, 3 spirit dust, 3 speed wings, and 3 secret books. It's super important that I get here, because 24 stat points is absolutely going to make the last few chapters easier. Midia clears out a fire and gets strength, skill, and speed out of it as my units finish off the last of the enemies. Maria healing everyone with Fortify and getting luck and resistance, before Lena uses Hammering to restore it to max. Once all the enemies are dead, I wait around for more enemies to kill, since XP is XP, Tiki not even fearing the Dragon Pike since she's become too powerful. Lind also gets a solid level up of HP, magic, and res. It feels weird that most of my descriptions now are just about level ups, but for the most part, the intensely difficult strategies of the early game have just vanished, since now I have actual units, and don't need to have a small amount of units do the same tasks a large group of units need to do. I just have a large group of units. I clear out the next wave of enemies before retreating to do it again, Pala getting strength and skill, Tiki getting HP, strength, and speed, Minerva getting strength, speed, and luck, and Sita getting HP and skill. Tiki and Lind take out the boss to stop the reinforcements, with Lind getting HP, magic, and luck, and getting his Master Seal. Now all that's left to do is to send Marth over to get the stat boosters, which thanks to the silver card, only costs 15,000 gold. It'll be worth it in the long run. A bit more shopping later, and some ghost dude tells up to go kill Ganondorf. Chapter 22. Castle Market. Before I can kill Ganondorf, however, I have to kill his loyal bodyguard, Michaelis, who is also Minerva and Maria's brother. Awkward. Not only that, but this chapter has a major question I need to answer for myself. In this village, Goto will take the Star Sphere and the Light Sphere and combine them into Starlight, a powerful tome that can penetrate the protection granted to Gharnef by his Mhulu tome. On one hand, this can let me get the best ending, and will let me kill Gharnef so we never see him again. But in doing so, will make me lose out on the Star Sphere, meaning Tiki's items will go back to having durability issues. For now, I finished preparations by having Lind do some magic powder for +2 magic. I could warp someone in and have them tank most of the enemies, but I want to spread the XP around just a bit longer, so I have my units move as a unit. That way the weaker mages and archers are behind the flyers, paladins, and dragon. The first wave of dragons go down quite easily, Lind even managing to chip in and get magic and speed out of her Draco takedown. Once it's my turn, my units go on a killing spree to ensure safe passage to King Michaelis. Tiki starts the assault, gaining HP, strength, skill, speed, and defense, as the rest of my units march north to enter the castle. Midia proves that her training was worthwhile, as she and the other gals clear out most of the wave with a focus on killing the horsemen, since even after all this training, my units can still only take a few units from a solid bow hit. Treachery getting HP and skill, and Est getting HP, strength, skill, and luck as they drop the scary enemies. I need to rush in order to make sure this thief doesn't kill Goto, so that if I choose to make Starlight, I can. Midia saves the village and gets HP and skill as my units retreat in order to deal with the reinforcements, since I don't want them to overwhelm me while dealing with the boss. Michaelis is pretty strong, and I can't even take him out with a bow since he holds the Iot's shield, which protects him from the effective damage of a bow. The flyers keep my weaklings safe as always, but I have to be a bit more careful when they start spawning horsemen, and also a bishop with a swarm tome who attacks Marth, so I have to reset again. Attempt 2, I keep Marth way in the back because I don't want to reset again. Same basic strategy, moving my units forward in formation to protect the backline as I continue leveling Tiki, this time getting HP, strength, skill, and speed, as the rest run past her to take out the rest. Lind gets magic and skill out of another kill, as the mounted ladies move in to finish off the last of the first wave, Est getting skill, speed, and luck in the process. The infantry fall back to prepare for the reinforcements, as the mounted stay to wipe out the enemies, Pala getting strength, skill, and speed, as the rest of her allies finish wiping them out. Katria gets HP, skill, and speed out of her murder, as my units retreat to prepare for the reinforcements. Midia continues training her bow arm so she can be as strong as possible when she wields the Parthia, and gets HP and speed. The waves keep coming and my units keep killing, HP being kept up as best I can, as Minerva gets HP, strength, speed, and luck, and Pala gets strength, skill, and defense. The super waves start coming in, and so not only do I have to deal with the long-range swarm units, but also Rider's Bane and 2 Draco Knights with silver lances. Overall, not a good time. Est does get HP, skill, speed, and luck, as the rest of my units funnel in to kill as many enemies as possible, because waiting is cringe, I've realized. Lind nearly dies, but since she doesn't, everything is fine. Lena gets luck out of a very important heal as the killing spree begins. Lind getting magic and speed as my more tanky units surround her in order to prepare for more enemies. Rider's Banes are incredibly useful as always to clear dangerous mounted units, but I mistook what fort one of the swarm bishops was standing on, meaning a horseman spawned in and took a significant amount of Pallas HP, before she ends up dying. Attempt 3, I made all my flyers mounted instead because you know what, I prefer dealing effective damage rather than being affected against. Horseman out of here, now I just have to worry about the occasional Rider's Bane. Also, instead of being defensive and worrying about protecting my unit, nah, screw that, I'm being as aggressive as possible! I warp T in to get started on killing, so she gets HP, skill, speed, and defense as the rest of our heroes bum rush in as well. Midia also getting warped in to snipe foes out of the sky, and they don't stand a chance against her trained bow arm. S gets HP, strength, speed, and luck, Katria gets HP, skill, speed, and luck, and Midia gets skill and speed. They continue clearing a path through the enemies, S getting strength, skill, and luck as they get closer and closer to Michaela's. Pallas scoops up HP, skill, and luck on the last enemy outside the castle as they block the entrance, meaning the reinforcements are now going to have to go through instead of being able to slip around the back. Lind gets magic as the Cavs move in to try and block the forts, since right now all they'd have to deal with is lances, and lances aren't that scary. The forts are covered up, and just like that, there's no chance for Michaelis to get backup. Midia snipes him from outside his range, and while the Fortify clerics do their best to stop me from murdering him, their attempts are unsuccessful. Maria weakening him before Tiki, the Divine Dragon, finishes him off for good, as his death rewards her with strength and magic. Now comes time for the ultimate question. Do I forge the Starlight Tome? And I decide ultimately, yes. I'd rather obtain the best ending than have infinite uses of the Divine Stone. I do a quick bit of shopping for some last minute weaponry before heading on to the next chapter, to face off against Gharnef and end his reign of terror for good. Chapter 23. Ganon's Castle. Here the Dark Pontifex lives, and as much as I might not like it, I have the weapon to kill him. Starlight is an A-rank tome that allows its user to pierce through Imhulu's protection spell, as well as just being a strong spell in general. There are 3 Gharnefs on this map, but only one is the real Gharnef, with the others being fake. I need to deduce which one is the real one, so that I don't waste uses of Starlight, and so I can get Falchion for the good ending. I reclass a few of my units and manage their inventory with a special notice to put the Geosphere in Tiki's inventory. This was a gem I got back in the chapter I recruited her in, but there's a specific reason I want to use this now. When activating the Geosphere, it deals 13 damage to all units on the map, which while that does include my units, the Geosphere, as you might have noticed, is not Starlight. Because of this, the real Gharnef is revealed to me, since whichever Gharnef doesn't take damage is the one I need to blast with Starlight. The one that didn't take damage is the far right one, the one I need to go out of my way to fight. With him revealed, the plan to move forward begins. Also, yes, while Marth and Julian took damage, I'm not counting this as a run failure because they didn't do anything. They got hit by the virtue of existing. Maria uses her Fortify staff like a good heal bot, getting the army back in fighting shape and gaining magic and luck, making her healing better. Lena patches up Maria herself as the rest of my units charge forth to give that Gharnef what for, Lind holding the Starlight in her inventory to kill her father's murderer. Most of my units go north, leaving just Lind and Midia to clear out the forces protecting the real Gharnef, as well as the man himself. Est nearly dies an embarrassing death, but since she doesn't, I can keep going, as my army tears through Gharnef's protectors, even benefiting from it, such as Lind getting HP, speed, and luck out of taking out a swarm unit. Swarm is honestly the biggest struggle so far in this map, as it's a 3 to 10 range tome that targets resistance, a stat that's far worse across the board when compared to my unit's defense. And it has 25 uses, so it's a constant threat, unlike, say, Thunderbolt. After moving my regular units, it's time for Lind to get her vengeance, attacking Gharnef's last ally with Starlight to leave him entirely alone. And while his attack hurts, her rage desire for vengeance, and the spirit of wrath itself channels into her, and she obliterates him with a single cast of the spell. With a skill and luck level up, and falchion now in my hand, it's time to make my way to the throne and seize it, to end the Dark Priest's grip on this land. Maria levels again, keeping my units alive and getting HP, magic, and luck. Thank you, Maria. Very cool. The rest of my units begin moving in on the throne room itself. Performing a risky move, I decide to use the Geosphere once again, furthering injuring my enemies, and using Lena and Fortify to patch myself up. Ooh, levels resistance. By taking out this Fortify mage, they've taken a major hit to their healing, Midia using the Parthia to gain 7 resistance to help tank swarm hits should they target her. The Dolhr forces in mine clash atop the tower, Minerva being on the brink of death, just as Lena comes in with the Fortify staff to heal her up. To continue running out their chances for healing, I warp Tiki in for later, as the rest of my units enter the throne room to do what they do best, kill people. Catre gets HP, strength, and skill, a fake Dark Pontifex gets killed by Est, as Sita moves in to take out one of the swarm bishops. Tiki then takes out the last faker, and gets HP, strength, skill, speed, and resistance out of it, as I loot the last chest, and my units begin closing in on killing the boss, though Est almost kicked the bucket again, but she survives, and gets a level out of it, increasing her HP, skill, and luck. Sita gets a blank level up, as my units move in to swarm the last enemy, revenge for how many swarm units he brought to the map. With one last triangle attack, the tower is cleared of darkness, and I can make my way out of here and onto the second to last map of the game. Chapter 24. Dragon's Table. The Land of Dragons. The final stop on my quest to rid the world of toxic men, so men and women can live together in harmony. I've already killed the creepy man, now I need to kill the personification of alpha men, the alpha dragon Medius. Right in this castle is where he hides, but for now, I have to get to him. Also, we recruited Elise at the end of the last chapter. Elise is a terrible unit. Shadow Dragon's endgame isn't known for having enemies with super high stats, but this is terrible even with that in account. As well, she doesn't even have the thing Gharnef kidnapped her for, the Alm Staff, as it's on this map, and not in her inventory like it used to be. At least she starts with max staff rank, so I have another unit to use Fortify or Warp. I promote her, cause why not, it's the second to last chapter and I ain't doing much else with these things, and so I can have all 11 of my units promoted. The main things on this map are really tough dragons, this chest right here with the Alm Staff, which can raise the dead, and this secret shop, which holds useful stat boosting items and arm scrolls. Once I put the white wings back on wings, I equip them to properly deal with this map, Catre and Est having dragon pikes, and Palla having the Gradavis, and then the fight begins. I warp Tiki in to get as much XP as possible out of her, since she's going to be my Medius killer. I also warp in Sita, since she's also going to be needed for the last map. But the enemies are actually pretty powerful. Like, really, really powerful. The snipers can drop my units in a single shot, but I don't worry too much for right now. Right now, I send in Palla to chuck her lance, getting HP, skill, and defense, as I again realized I might have underestimated this. They're taking single-digit damage from my units, while dealing so much more. Deciding to not play it out, I reset and try a different strategy this time. Palla, Catre, and Est set up for a triangle attack, while Sita prepares to defend from this mountain goat disguised as a sniper. I warp Midia in to get the secret shop goodies before ending my turn. Once it's my turn again, I decide to get as much out of this as I can, my units chipping out the last bits of XP they can before I move on, Tiki even getting warped in to join in on the fun. She even levels, getting HP, skill, speed, and defense, and then another getting her HP, strength, skill, and speed. Minerva gets a level up too, of skill and defense, Maria, speed and luck, Palla, strength and skill, pretty good level ups overall. With one more turn passed, I get the last bit of XP I can for my units as I move in to try and claim the Alm Staff, Tiki getting another level up and getting HP, strength, and skill, before I stupidly end turn, not realizing that reinforcements were coming, including from right next to Marth, so all that XP and stat points went to waste. I wanted to kick my own head in, I was so mad. Endgame. This is it. the final battle. It's time to do what I came here to do. Kill Medius. And this chapter isn't going to be easy. Not only because a unique mechanic where doors just open and shut all the time, but worse off, I have to clear this map in one turn. Whether it's a ballistician or a swarm tome, the enemy can cover just about every inch of this map, and since they can cover every inch, Marth, and soon Goto, will be in danger right off the bat, meaning I need to clear this in one turn. First, I give Sita a Dragon Pike, fortunate to have as much might as my coffers allow for, before I begin giving out stat boosters to my units. Mostly Tiki. 4 points of strength to Tiki, 4 points of magic to Lena, 2 points of skill to Tiki, and 1 to Sita, 2 points of speed to Tiki, and 2 to Lena. And I gave the Geosphere to Midia. After rearranging some of my units, the time to challenge the boss had come. Medius was intimidating, but I had a plan all set up, just for this. First, warp Sita into the room with Medius. Second, use Lena to attack Medius to deal a bit of chip damage, and with his injured health bar, the only thing I need to do is take out the Manakete defending Medius with Sita, and with one last dramatic attack from Tiki, Medius is defeated, and the Shadow Dragon has been slain. With that, Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon has been beaten on hard difficulty, assuming you don't count those people I sacrificed in Chapter 1, and with its completion, my suffering is over. It was a hard-fought battle, and being honest, I was surprised it was even possible. I had written the game off since I had never even beaten the first chapter. But once I had recruited Maria and Minerva, the difficulty fell off immensely. Fire Emblem, like most RPGs, is insanely reliant on action economy. Whoever has more units to take more turns is more likely to win. So for a long time, I was batting about a 1 to 18 unit ratio. But once I had started to get more allies, the battles became easier, until I was basically just playing a normal Fire Emblem game. But before I finish my video up, time for a quick ranking of my units from least useful to most useful. There's only 11 units, so this should be quick. In 11th place is obviously Elise, because while she was useful for warping in Chapter 24 and Endgame, she didn't do much else. Acting twice, even if they were useful actions, is still acting twice. 10th place goes to Palla, because honestly, while she was insanely useful for triangle attacks, I was kind of disappointed by her performance. Palla is renowned for her speed, but she was incredibly slow this time around, and while she was pretty tanky, she wasn't great on the offensive department. 9th is actually my favorite unit in this game, Minerva. She's a great character and is very beautiful, but honestly she was kind of disappointing this run. However, she was still an immense utility in the early game, and had Horticolor to slam into people's faces, so that was nice, but her endgame performance was pretty lackluster. 8th is Midia. Making her an archer was probably the best idea I had for her. Instead of just making her another paladin in the army, she instead had exclusive rights to any and all bows I could get my hands on, including the 3-range longbow, the killer bow, and the Parthia, which she used once to increase her resistance. She was very useful for shooting down the tanky Draco Knights, and otherwise just an alright unit to shoot her shots. 7th is Maria. Combat-wise, worthless, but her ability to spam Fortify, Physic, and Warp made her invaluable, as well as being the reason I was able to beat her chapter, since recruiting her meant that I could actually recruit her sister. 6th is Est, the youngest White Wing, but she was pretty strong overall. She got a bunch of strength and speed, but was pretty frail in both defense and resistance. She did give me access to triangle attack, and while she was basically the only one to initiate it, that's not something I can give to her and her alone. Catria was basically the best of both her sister's worlds. Not as strong as Est, and not as tanky as Palla, but overall, a good reliable unit to use whenever I needed a non-triangle attack. Plus, her speed was pretty good. Linda may not have had the highest magic, but she did have her turn entirely free to blast magic at someone. She started in an abysmal state, but I dragged her out of it, trained her well, and made her into a killing machine. She even got revenge on her father's killer. Taking home the bronze in 3rd place is Lena. She had the magic, the staves, and the tomes, and if it wasn't for her early game training, she wouldn't be this high, but her insanely lucky growths absolutely made this run possible, especially with her starting with Warp. Making her start as a mage was so worth it, since while it was initially very difficult without any healing, it made it much more likely that she'd increase magic instead of in cleric, and having someone who could target resistance in a game when most enemies had 0 resistance was super useful. The runner-up of this run was, of course, Tiki. Babying her and feeding her as many kills as possible was absolutely worth it. It made it so she was actually close to one-shotting the boss, and all she needed was that last little push from Lena to seal the deal. Even outside of that, she was incredibly useful as a tank, dealing with some annoying dragons. I wish I could have gotten her earlier than the last 6 chapters, but she's a plot-important character. What are you gonna do? And, of course, the most useful was the lady, the myth herself, Sita. I no longer believe the wiki, because there is no way a lady with a 20% strength growth and a 10% defense growth gained as many points of strength and defense as she did. She was absolutely key in pulling the victory out of nowhere, not only because I wouldn't even start this challenge without her joining in Chapter 1, but without her wing spear, generally good stats, fantastic luck when it came to increasing her stats, and just general viability, she was incredible this run. I could not have beaten it without her, 100%. If you enjoyed this challenge run, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to view the companion video to this video, and I'll see you nerds next time.